The summer sun was bright and hot, and the community pool was alive with noise. Children were running along the edge, splashing each other, laughing and shouting. Parents were sitting on lounge chairs chatting and keeping an eye on their kids. The smell of sunscreen mixed with chlorine hung in the air, and the sounds of joy and excitement were everywhere. Among the children was a young black girl about 10 years old. She was smaller than most of the kids her age, with careful, watchful eyes and a quiet presence. She had been looking forward to swimming all week, hoping to escape for a few hours into the cool water. The girl had come with her older brother, who was already in the water with a group of friends. She liked the pool, but she often felt nervous in crowded places. She preferred to stick close to the shallow end where she could stand easily and watch everyone around her. She was happy just to float and play quietly without drawing attention. That day she had brought her favorite pink float, and she clutched it tightly as she moved along the poolside. Not far from her, a man in his late 20s was sitting on the edge of the pool. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and carried himself with a sense of confidence that often bordered on arrogance. He liked attention and enjoyed being noticed by others. The man had been showing off to some friends about how brave and strong he was, telling stories about minor accidents he had saved people from. Today he seemed to be looking for an opportunity to impress more people. As he watched the girl move along the poolside, something in his eyes changed. He smirked and leaned forward, whispering something to his friend before standing up. Nobody quite knew what he was planning, but there was a tension in the way he moved. He edged closer to the girl, who was completely unaware of him. She was focused on placing her float in the shallow water and gently stepping in, feeling the cool surface on her toes. Her focus was on the water and the feeling of relief it brought from the summer heat. Suddenly, without any warning, the man reached out and gave her a gentle push. At first it seemed accidental, but then she felt herself tipping over and plunging into the water. The splash was loud, and the air was filled with gasps from the surrounding parents and children. The girl came up coughing, sputtering, and shocked by what had just happened. Her hair was plastered to her face and water dripped down her cheeks. For a moment she couldn't believe someone had done this to her. She clutched her pink float and tried to steady herself, feeling embarrassed and frightened at the same time. People around the pool reacted immediately. Some children screamed in surprise, others laughed nervously, unsure whether it was a game or something more serious. A few parents jumped up from their chairs, scanning for what had happened. The man, however, acted as if nothing was wrong. He stood there, brushing water from his hands, and forced a smile. He made a show of looking concerned, as if he had rushed in to save her from falling. Even though it was clear to some that he had pushed her, the girl climbed out of the pool slowly, holding her float close to her chest. Her heart was still racing, and her eyes searched the area for her brother. He had noticed immediately and was moving toward her, his face showing a mix of anger and worry. She felt a sense of relief seeing him, but also a wave of shame. She didn't like being the center of attention, especially in such a confusing and embarrassing situation. The man walked over to her, his movements deliberate and calculated. He leaned down slightly, speaking loudly enough for nearby people to hear. He said something along the lines of, "Are you okay? I got you just in time." He smiled broadly as if proud of himself. Some people nearby nodded, believing his story at first glance. The girl, however, felt a sinking feeling in her chest. She knew the truth. He had caused the fall, and now he was pretending to be a hero. It was one of the most unfair things she had experienced. Nearby parents started to murmur among themselves. Some were concerned about what had just happened, questioning whether the man's behavior was appropriate. Others seemed unsure, thinking it might have been a simple accident. The girl's brother spoke up, standing protectively by her side. "She didn't fall," he said firmly. "You pushed her." His voice was strong, but he was also trying to remain calm. The man looked at him, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face, but he quickly masked it with another smile and a shrug, as if the boy's words were meaningless. The girl's eyes welled up slightly with tears. She didn't like to cry in public, but the combination of embarrassment, fear, and frustration was overwhelming. She took a deep breath and tried to steady herself, focusing on the water and the float she held tightly. She didn't want to give him the satisfaction of seeing her upset, but it was difficult to hide her feelings completely. Around the pool, other children were still splashing and playing, unaware of the tension that had just unfolded. Some of the older kids were watching with curiosity, sensing that something unusual had happened. parents continued to whisper among themselves, trying to figure out the truth. The girl felt both invisible and exposed at the same time, as everyone seemed to be noticing the scene but not understanding the full story. For the man, this was a moment of opportunity. He continued to talk loudly about how he had saved her, pointing out to anyone who would listen that he had acted heroically. Some people nodded, impressed by what they thought was a brave act. He basked in the attention, completely ignoring the girl's actual feelings or the reality of the situation. His focus was entirely on maintaining his image and ensuring that everyone believed he was the hero. The girl remained quiet, trying to calm. After the incident at the pool, the man did not slow down. He walked around the area acting confident and proud. He made sure everyone near him heard his story, exaggerating the events. He told people that he had acted quickly to save the girl from a dangerous accident, making it seem like she would have been seriously hurt if he had not intervened. His friends laughed and nodded, impressed by his supposed bravery. A few people who had been watching the pool wondered if it had really happened as he said. They whispered to each other, trying to understand what they had just seen. But the man ignored them, focusing only on those who were willing to believe his story. The young girl stayed close to her brother, who had been watching everything unfold. She felt a mixture of anger, embarrassment, and frustration. She hated that someone could push her and then take credit for it as if they were a hero. She felt small in front of all the attention the man was getting. Her brother kept a protective eye on her, making sure the man did not get too close. He knew that words were not enough to fix the situation, but he also knew that letting the man spread lies without challenge was not right. The girl's parents were called and arrived at the pool. They had been informed about the incident and wanted to understand exactly what had happened. Their faces were a mix of concern and disbelief. They saw their daughter sitting quietly, hugging her pink float, looking both frightened and annoyed. The mother knelt beside her and gently asked her to tell the story in her own words. The father stood nearby, arms crossed, watching the man who had caused the problem. The girl took a deep breath and began to speak, her voice quiet at first but growing stronger as she described the incident. She explained how the man had pushed her, how she had fallen into the water, and how he was pretending to be the hero. The parents listened carefully, nodding and understanding. Meanwhile, the man continued to talk to anyone who would listen, showing off and laughing about how he had saved her. He even took out his phone and began posting a story on social media, adding dramatic captions and pictures of the pool. He wanted everyone online to know what a brave and caring person he was. As people scrolled through their feeds, many liked and commented, congratulating him for his bravery. The girl's parents saw this and felt a mix of frustration and determination. They realized that confronting him directly would not be enough. The false story was spreading fast and it needed to be corrected. The girl's brother leaned down and whispered to her that they needed to stay calm and not give him any more attention. She nodded, understanding that she could not control everyone else's perception, but she could control how she reacted. She felt a growing sense of strength inside her, realizing that she had survived the fall and she had the support of her family. The mother gently encouraged her to focus on herself and not the man's lies, reminding her that the truth was always more important than appearances. A few parents who had witnessed the incident began to approach the man, asking questions about what had happened. They were polite but firm, trying to clarify the story. The man responded confidently, repeating his version of events and emphasizing how quickly he had acted. Some parents began to sense that something was off. Their expressions changed slightly as they listened more closely, noticing inconsistencies in his story. Still, many people were hesitant to challenge him openly, unsure of how others might react. The girl watched as some of the other children played nearby, trying to distract herself from the situation. She focused on the water, imagining herself floating and feeling the coolness on her skin. She felt her heart calm a little as she reminded herself that the fall had not hurt her, and that she had made it through the ordeal. Her brother stayed close, silently showing that he believed her story, and that he was there to support her. It was comforting to know she was not alone. As the afternoon went on, more people gathered near the poolside, curious about what had happened. Some were parents, some were other children, and some were neighbors who had come to watch. The man continued to speak loudly, making sure that everyone heard his version of events. He gestured dramatically, describing how he had saved the girl from a dangerous accident. Some nodded, impressed by his supposed courage, while others exchanged doubtful looks, sensing that the story might not be entirely true. The girl's mother decided it was time to take action. She approached the man calmly but firmly, asking him to explain exactly what had happened. The man smiled confidently and repeated his story, claiming that he had acted quickly to prevent a serious accident. The mother listened patiently and then asked a few more questions, making it clear that she wanted the truth. The girl's father joined in, standing beside his wife and showing that they were united in seeking honesty. The man's expression flickered for a moment, but he quickly regained his confident smile. At the same time, some neighbors who had witnessed the fall began to speak quietly among themselves. They were unsure whether to step forward, but they knew that the truth was important. A few of them decided to approach the girl's parents and share what they had seen. They confirmed that the man had indeed pushed her, and that his hero story was false. The parents thanked them quietly, feeling relieved that others were willing to support their daughter's account. The girl felt a mixture of emotions as she listened the next day. The girl could not stop thinking about what had happened at the pool. She felt a mix of emotions: anger at the man for pushing her, frustration that he was trying to act like a hero, and a quiet determination to set the story straight. Her parents noticed that she seemed restless and uneasy, so they sat down with her in the living room to talk. They wanted her to feel heard and supported, knowing that she needed guidance on how to handle the situation. The girl explained everything again, describing how the man had pushed her, how she had fallen into the pool, and how he had lied about being her savior. Her parents listened closely, nodding and asking gentle questions to make sure they understood every detail. Her father suggested that they should confront the man directly, but in a calm and controlled way. He explained that getting angry or shouting would not help, and it might make the situation worse. The mother agreed, emphasizing that the goal was not to punish him in anger, but to make sure everyone understood the truth. The girl felt a sense of relief knowing that her parents believed her and wanted to help her address the situation. She felt stronger knowing that she would not have to face it alone. Meanwhile, the man had continued posting his story online. His posts gained likes and comments from people who had not witnessed the event, many of them praising him for being heroic. He had managed to convince a portion of the public, even though those who were there knew the truth. His confidence seemed unshakable, but the girl's parents were determined to make sure that the real story reached the people who mattered most. They decided to go back to the pool with the girl and speak to the staff, witnesses, and any parents who had been present. They wanted to gather support and evidence before confronting the man. At the pool, the girl felt a mix of anxiety and courage. She walked with her parents, holding her pink float tightly, her eyes scanning the area for familiar faces. A few parents recognized her and greeted her kindly, asking if she was okay after yesterday's incident. Their concern gave her reassurance and helped her feel more confident. She realized that she was not alone, and that there were people willing to listen and support her. This gave her strength as she prepared to face the man and the challenge of setting the record straight. The girl's parents approached the pool staff first. They explained the incident in detail, emphasizing that the man had pushed the girl and that his story of heroism was false. The staff listened carefully, taking notes and expressing concern. They reassured the family that they would address the situation and take appropriate action to prevent anything similar from happening in the future. This gave the girl a sense of relief, knowing that authority figures were on her side and willing to stand up for what was right. Next, the family spoke to some of the parents who had been at the pool during the incident. They shared what they had seen and confirmed that the girl's account was accurate. These witnesses were crucial in supporting her story, and their willingness to speak up gave her confidence. Slowly, a small group of people began to form around her, united in the belief that the truth needed to be heard. The girl felt a sense of empowerment, realizing that together, they could challenge the man's lies. When the man arrived at the pool later that day, he was unaware that the girl and her family were prepared to confront him. He continued to speak loudly, telling anyone who would listen about his supposed heroism. He gestured dramatically, making it clear that he expected admiration and attention. The girl took a deep breath, holding her float tightly and standing close to her parents. She reminded herself to stay calm and speak clearly, knowing that this was her chance to reveal the truth. Her father stepped forward first, addressing the man politely but firmly. He asked the man to explain exactly what had happened, giving him the opportunity to be honest. The man repeated his story, claiming that he had acted quickly to save the girl from a dangerous fall. He smiled confidently, expecting his audience to continue believing him. The girl's mother then spoke up, calmly asking questions that highlighted inconsistencies in his story. She asked why he had been standing nearby if he had noticed a fall, and why no one else had seen him act heroically until after the girl had already recovered from the water. The girl then found her voice, speaking clearly and calmly. She described the fall from her perspective, emphasizing that the man had pushed her and that she had not needed rescuing. She spoke about how she had felt during the incident, the embarrassment and the fear, and how the man's actions had affected her. Her words were measured and honest, and there was a quiet strength in the way she spoke. People around the pool began to listen more closely, paying attention to the story from someone who had actually experienced it. As she spoke, a few of the parents who had been witnesses nodded, confirming her account. Others began to step forward, sharing what they had seen and reinforcing the truth. The group around her grew, and the man started to notice that his audience was shifting. People were no longer blindly believing his story. They were questioning him and listening to the girl's side. His confident smile faltered slightly, though he tried to maintain composure. The girl's brother stood close by, his presence a silent show of support. He nodded encouragingly at her, and she felt a surge of courage. She realized that speaking the truth and having support was more powerful than any false story or show of bravado. Her parents remained calm, guiding her and reinforcing her confidence without interrupting her. Their steady presence helped her stay focused and composed even as the man tried to regain control of the situation. Slowly, the man's influence began to fade. People who had initially believed him started asking questions, noticing the gaps and contradictions in his story. Some of his friends looked. The day after confronting the man, the girl and her family woke up with a sense of cautious relief. The truth had been shared, witnesses had spoken up, and the man's false story had started to lose credibility. However, they knew that his online posts were still out there, spreading his version of events to people who had not been at the pool. Her parents decided that it was important to address this calmly and thoughtfully. They explained to her that while some people might believe lies at first, honesty has a way of being recognized, especially when the real story is shared clearly and with evidence. The girl spent the morning reflecting on what had happened. She felt a mixture of pride and lingering frustration. She was proud that she had stood up for herself and spoken the truth, but she was also frustrated that someone could push her and then try to take credit. Her brother noticed her thoughtful expression and came to sit beside her, offering a comforting smile. He reminded her that what mattered most was that the people who had witnessed the incident knew the truth, and that she had done the right thing by speaking up. Later that day, the girl's parents suggested they visit the local community center, where the man often spent time. They wanted to make sure that staff there were aware of the situation, and that the girl's story was documented in case he tried to continue spreading falsehoods. The girl felt nervous but determined. She knew that standing up for herself and telling the truth was important, and she trusted her parents to guide her. At the community center, they met with staff members who had observed the man's behavior in the past. The staff listened attentively as the girl's parents explained the incident at the pool and the man's attempts to portray himself as a hero. The girl spoke too, recounting the events calmly and clearly. The staff were supportive, taking notes and asking questions to ensure that everything was accurately recorded. They assured the girl and her family that they would address the situation appropriately and that they were grateful for their honesty. Meanwhile, the man had noticed that fewer people were responding positively to his social media posts. Comments were questioning his version of events, and some people who had witnessed the fall were sharing the girl's side of the story. His confidence began to waver, though he tried to maintain an appearance of composure. He muttered to himself, realizing that the admiration he had been receiving was slipping away as more people learned the truth. The girl's parents explained to her that this was natural when someone is exposed for lying, and it was a reminder that honesty and integrity carry more weight than false appearances. As the day continued, the girl noticed small changes in how people treated her and her family. Neighbors and friends who had been uncertain about the situation began to acknowledge the truth. Some approached her and offered words of encouragement, praising her bravery and speaking out. Others apologized for not realizing what had happened sooner. The girl felt a warm sense of support, realizing that even though the incident had been frightening and unfair, it had also revealed the kindness and integrity of the people around her. The man, sensing that his influence was dwindling, attempted one last effort to regain attention. He spoke loudly to a small group, repeating his version of the events and emphasizing his so-called heroism. However, this time, fewer people were willing to listen without question. Some directly challenged him, asking about inconsistencies in his story and pointing out that witnesses had confirmed the girl's account. The man's frustration grew, and his attempts to dominate the conversation failed. The girl and her family observed quietly, knowing that the truth was becoming clear without needing to argue or raise their voices. The girl's parents reminded her of the importance of staying calm and composed. They encouraged her to continue focusing on the support she had from witnesses and the community. The girl realized that by remaining honest and steady, she could allow the truth to reveal itself naturally. She noticed that the man's confidence was slipping further with each challenge, and she felt a quiet sense of satisfaction knowing that honesty was winning. Throughout the afternoon, the girl and her family engaged with neighbors and other parents who had observed the incident. They shared their perspective and emphasized the importance of truth and accountability. The girl spoke with clarity and sincerity, and people responded positively. She felt empowered, knowing that her voice was being heard and that she was helping others understand the importance of fairness and honesty. Her brother stayed close, offering quiet support and encouragement, which helped her remain focused. By early evening, the man had grown increasingly isolated. People were no longer paying attention to his claims, and those who had been his supporters began to question him. Some confronted him directly, asking for explanations and pointing out the witnesses who had confirmed the girl's story. The man's frustration and embarrassment were clear, though he tried to hide it with forced smiles and gestures. The girl and her family observed from a distance, feeling a sense of relief and accomplishment as the situation shifted in their favor. As the sun set, the girl reflected on the day. She felt a deep sense of pride and strength. She had faced fear, confusion, and false accusations, yet she had remained calm and Han. After the man's credibility had faded, life slowly returned to normal for the girl and her family. The pool regained its lively atmosphere, filled with children laughing, splashing, and enjoying the summer sun. The girl still went to the pool regularly, but she now did so with a quiet sense of confidence. She knew that she had faced an unfair situation and had handled it with courage, and that knowledge gave her a feeling of strength that she had not felt before. Her family remained close, providing constant support and encouragement. Her parents praised her for speaking up and staying calm, and her brother continued to protect and guide her when needed. They reminded her that integrity and honesty are always more important than appearances, and that true bravery is not about being noticed or praised, but about doing the right thing. The girl took these lessons to heart, feeling a growing sense of self-assurance and maturity. At the pool, the girl began to notice changes in how people interacted. Neighbors, parents, and children who had witnessed the incident treated her with respect and kindness. Some even complimented her on her bravery and honesty. The girl realized that her actions had not only set the record straight, but had also influenced how others thought about fairness and truth. She felt proud to know that her courage had inspired positive change in her community. The man who had pushed her gradually disappeared from the social scene. His attempts to regain attention and admiration were unsuccessful, and the community no longer took his claims seriously. People began to recognize him for what he truly was, a person seeking recognition through lies rather than genuine deeds. The girl observed this quietly, feeling a sense of satisfaction but not gloating. She knew that the truth had a way of showing itself, and that people who act with honesty and integrity ultimately earn respect. As time passed, the girl's confidence grew. She no longer felt nervous or unsure when navigating crowded places. She knew that even if someone tried to intimidate or manipulate her, she had the strength to stand up for herself. This newfound self-assurance extended beyond the pool. She felt more capable in school, in her interactions with friends, and in other activities where she might face challenges. The experience had taught her that courage and honesty are powerful tools, and she carried that lesson with her every day. Her parents continued to guide her, emphasizing the importance of using her voice wisely. They encouraged her to speak up when she saw unfairness and to support others who might be in difficult situations. The girl embraced these lessons, realizing that helping others and standing for what is right were important aspects of being a responsible and compassionate person. She felt proud to know that she could make a difference even in small ways. The girl's relationship with her brother also grew stronger. He had been a constant source of support during the pool incident, and their shared experiences had deepened their bond. They spent more time together, playing, talking, and supporting each other in their daily lives. The girl felt comforted knowing that she could rely on her brother, and that he would always be there to protect and encourage her. This sense of security allowed her to face new challenges with confidence and resilience. The community also seemed to change in subtle but meaningful ways. Parents and neighbors became more aware of the importance of paying attention to children's experiences and ensuring that everyone is treated fairly. The pool staff implemented new safety and monitoring measures, making the environment safer and more welcoming for everyone. The girl noticed these changes and felt proud to know that her experience had contributed to a more positive and supportive atmosphere. One afternoon, the girl was sitting by the pool, dipping her feet in the water and watching younger children play. A parent approached her and thanked her for being brave and honest during the incident. They said that her actions had encouraged others to speak the truth and stand up for fairness. The girl felt a warm sense of pride and accomplishment. She realized that even though the event had been difficult and unfair, it had also created an opportunity for positive change and growth, both for herself and for the community. The girl also learned the value of forgiveness and letting go. While she had been hurt by the man's actions, she understood that holding on to anger would not help her move forward. She chose to focus on the positive aspects of the experience, her courage, the support of her family, and the lessons she had learned. This mindset allowed her to approach life with a sense of peace and optimism, knowing that she could face challenges with strength and integrity. Her parents continued to reinforce the importance of character and integrity. They shared stories of people who had faced difficult situations and chosen honesty and courage over deceit and selfishness. The girl listened carefully, absorbing these lessons and understanding that true heroism is about helping others and doing what is right, not about seeking attention or praise. She felt inspired to apply these values in her own life, both at the pool and beyond. As the summer progressed, the girl enjoyed her time at the pool more than ever. She played with friends, learned new swimming skills, and even helped younger children feel safe and confident in the water. Her presence became a comforting and encouraging influence for others. People looked up to her, not because of any dramatic act, but because of her honesty, kindness, and quiet strength. The girl felt proud to know that she was making a positive impact in her community. The man who had pushed her remained a distant figure, his attempts at attention having failed. The girl never needed to confront him again. She understood that his actions were a reflection of his character, not hers. She focused instead on building positive relationships, being honest, and supporting others. This mindset allowed her to grow in confidence and maturity, knowing that she could navigate challenges with resilience and integrity. By the end of the summer, the girl had grown stronger, wiser, and more confident. She had faced an unfair situation, spoken the truth, and gained the support of her family and community. She had learned important lessons about honesty, courage, forgiveness, and the value of standing up for what is right. These lessons would stay with her for the rest of her life, guiding her actions and helping her navigate future challenges with strength and integrity. The experience at the pool became a defining moment for the girl. It taught her that even in the face of unfairness and deceit, one can remain calm, honest, and courageous. It showed her the importance of support from family and community, and the power of standing up for truth and fairness. Most importantly, it helped her understand that true heroism is not about seeking attention or praise, but about integrity, kindness, and the courage to do what is right, no matter the circumstances. As the girl looked out over the pool one warm evening, she felt a sense of peace and accomplishment. She had faced fear, embarrassment, and dishonesty, and she had come through stronger and wiser. Holding her pink float close, she smiled quietly, knowing that she had made a difference not only for herself but for others around her. She understood that courage, honesty, and integrity were qualities to carry through life, and that her actions could inspire positive change. With the sun setting behind the trees and the water sparkling in the golden light, the girl felt a deep sense of pride and hope for the future. She knew that no matter what challenges came her way, she had the strength and courage to face them, guided by the lessons she had learned and the support of those who cared for her. As her parents praised her courage and reminded her that standing up for the truth is one of the most important qualities a person can have, the girl realized that even in difficult situations, integrity and honesty are powerful tools. She felt confident that she had handled the situation with grace and courage. The community also began to recognize the girl's bravery. Parents, neighbors, and other children acknowledged her strength and admired her calm and honest approach. The girl felt supported and encouraged, understanding that she had not only defended herself but had also helped educate others about honesty, fairness, and courage. Her brother smiled proudly, and her parents expressed their admiration and love. She realized that she had grown stronger through the experience, learning valuable lessons about resilience and integrity. The man eventually left the area, his confidence diminished, and his attempts at self-promotion unsuccessful. The girl watched him go, feeling a mixture of relief and satisfaction. She knew that while he had tried to manipulate the situation, he could not erase the truth. The girl had spoken clearly. Witnesses had confirmed her story, and the community had supported her. This was a powerful reminder that honesty and courage always matter more than lies and false appearances. As the evening ended, the girl and her family walked home together. The girl held her pink float, thinking about the events of the past few days. She felt a sense of calm and accomplishment, knowing that she had faced a challenging situation with honesty and courage. Her parents reminded her that she had shown strength beyond her years and that she could be proud of herself. The girl realized that true courage is quiet and steady, not loud and boastful, and that standing up for what is right is always worthwhile. The incident at the pool became a story of resilience and integrity. The girl had faced unfairness and dishonesty, yet she had remained strong and truthful. She had learned the importance of speaking up, trusting her own experience and seeking support from those who care. Her parents, brother, and the community had all played a role in helping her navigate the situation. Together, they had ensured that the truth was recognized and that the girl's courage was celebrated. By the time they reached home, the girl felt a sense of peace. She knew that she had handled the situation with honesty, calmness, and strength. The man's false story had been exposed, and she had learned valuable lessons about integrity, courage, and the importance of having support. Holding her pink float close, she reflected on the events with pride, knowing that she had grown stronger and wiser. She understood that even in the face of lies and unfairness, truth and courage always prevail, and that her voice mattered in making a difference. Uncomfortable, unsure whether to continue supporting his version, the girl's parents encouraged her to continue speaking clearly, reminding her that honesty and truth always carry weight. The girl felt empowered, realizing that she had done the right thing by standing up and sharing her experience. By the end of the afternoon, the man had grown quiet, realizing that the group around the girl was not going to let him continue spreading lies. The witnesses confirmed her story, the staff supported her, and her parents stood firmly by her side. He muttered something and walked away, his confident demeanor gone, replaced by frustration and embarrassment. The girl and her family watched him leave, feeling a sense of relief and accomplishment. They knew that the truth had prevailed, even if it had taken time and courage to make it heard. The girl sat on the poolside, dipping her feet into the water and holding her pink float. She felt a mix of emotions: relief that the truth was finally recognized, pride in having spoken up, and a quiet sense of strength. She realized that standing up for herself had not only helped her, but it had also encouraged others to speak the truth and support what was right. Her parents joined her, smiling and reassuring her that she had done wonderfully. That day became a turning point for the girl. She understood that courage is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet, steady, and honest. She had faced a situation where someone tried to take credit for something they had not done, and had managed to reveal the truth with calmness and clarity. Her brother, parents, and the supportive community had all helped her, showing that support and unity are powerful tools in confronting unfairness. As the sun began to set, the pool gradually emptied, leaving a sense of peace and accomplishment. The girl felt a weight lifted from her shoulders. She had faced fear, embarrassment, and a false story, and she had come out stronger. She had learned important lessons about honesty, courage, and the value of standing with those who care about you. Holding her pink float close, she smiled quietly, knowing that she had made a difference not only for herself, but also for others who might face similar situations in the future. Ed to the adults discussed the incident. She was grateful that some people were willing to speak the truth, but she also felt frustrated that it had taken so much effort to correct the lies. She realized that sometimes people could be very convincing when they wanted to appear brave or important, even if their actions were wrong. She also understood that she had to stay strong and trust her own experience no matter what others said. The man, noticing that some people were starting to question his story, tried to regain control. He raised his voice and spoke louder, insisting that he had been the hero and that everyone else was mistaken. He laughed and waved his hands, trying to distract people from the growing doubt. Some parents were not convinced and quietly shook their heads, while others began to talk among themselves, debating what had really happened. The girl's parents remained calm, listening carefully and supporting their daughter without raising their voices. As the sun began to move lower in the sky, the tension at the pool started to ease. People began to return to their activities, some staying to watch the girl and her family, others moving on to enjoy the remaining hours of the day. The man, realizing that his story was losing credibility, finally stopped trying to convince everyone of his heroism. He muttered to himself and walked away, still attempting to look confident, but his audience had diminished. The girl and her family were left with a sense of relief, knowing that the truth had begun to emerge. The girl sat on the edge of the pool with her feet in the water, holding her pink float close. She felt a sense of calm return, knowing that she had survived the fall and that her family believed her. She looked at her brother, who smiled reassuringly, and she realized how important it was to have someone on your side. She understood that even when people try to lie and take credit for things they did not do, the truth could still be recognized by those who cared and paid attention. By the end of the afternoon, the girl felt a mixture of exhaustion and relief. The pool was still full of children playing, parents chatting, and the sun casting warm light over the water. She had learned something important about people and how they could behave when seeking attention. She had also learned about courage, the quiet kind, not the loud, boastful kind. Sitting with her family, she felt a quiet pride, knowing that she had stayed strong, told the truth, and had the support of those who mattered most. Even as the man tried to maintain his story, she knew what had really happened, and that knowledge gave her a sense of strength and peace, herself, and stay composed. She kept her float close and avoided looking directly at the man. She wanted to get through the rest of the day without further embarrassment or attention. Her brother stayed nearby, protective and alert, making sure she was safe. He occasionally glared at the man, sending a silent message that the girl was not alone and that he was watching. As the day went on, the girl slowly started to enjoy the pool again. She remained cautious, staying closer to her brother and avoiding the man entirely. She watched other children play, gradually allowing herself to feel some relief and enjoyment. Despite the earlier incident, she reminded herself why she loved the WA.